Hello, Buzzicles, my name is Hatsusi and welcome back to Oxygen Not Included. And the focus of today's episode will be proper steel production and oil setup. We will see how far we can get there, but I think first priority has to be to ensure that our oxygen setup continues running, and we will run into issues pretty soon when this water up here runs dry. So that means we have to tap into some other water source that we have. We have a hot steam geyser here. We have a cool steam geyser down here, and then I think here we have some salt water. So I think we will use this water for oxygen, and then we need to cool the oxygen, and we can do this by laying some pipes here through this cool water tank. That should do the trick. And then this geyser we will be using to we can use the steam to create power, the steam turbine, and then we can use that water at least partially for our oil setup. I don't think we get enough water out of it to really fuel it, but let's make this happen because I don't want to use the hot water for anything that goes into our base and would heat up things. So that's the first steps laid out, so let's get right to it. And the first objective is already reached, and just in time, as up here we have run out of water, and so far we still have oxygen in our base, but we can see there is nothing coming in, so probably we should connect here. Cut this line, connect there, and yeah, we can see we get water from down below. It's a bit on the warm side, but that means here the oxygen, that's 40 degrees. That there's the first oxygen going through. Here, of course, we also need to connect. Don't need that one, but then we should have the complete loop going there, and actually we can get rid of this piece of pipe, right? And then I have planned out two more farms, one up here, one down here, and that's so we can consume here the polluted oxygen. So this one will be for the pepper plants. They don't mind the heat, at least if it's not too hot, but 55 degrees. Perfect temperature for pepper plants, but down here we want to have the thimbleweed, these ones here, and they have a bit of a narrower temperature range, so that's why down here we have it inside the base with some cooling, so we can keep the temperature between 22 and 37, I think. And that will be the next step we have to make, I think, before we turn our attention to steel proper. On the farming side, we made good progress. We're still lacking seeds up here, but we have set up the farm, and so do we have it down here. Here on this side, it's still a bit too cozy for the plants to grow, but we have our cooling loop in place, so that should be addressed in a little bit. And while that was going on, I have also started to add a few nicer accommodations for our duplicants, so that should help with the morale, and we can again think of adding new capabilities for the duplicants. I don't think we are yet at the point where we can add more, because food-wise, aside from the occasional meat that we get, we are still on a meal-wise diet, and for anything else, thinking bristleberries, we need water, and we need water at a coolish temperature. So I'm still putting that off, because so far we're managing with the duplicants that we have, if we try to not overtax them with too many different tasks. So while all that has been going on, I have also planned out our steel production here on this side. Let's see if you can figure this one out from this picture. If not, it is my go-to design when it comes to steel or refinement, and I think it's so good that at least if we refine steel, we have a net positive on the energy. But it probably takes a while until all this is built up, and then we need to connect the cooling loop from up here, and we need to fill in some cooling liquid for the refinement, and that's where our oil is coming in. And I think what I want to do here, that's why I place it down here, is to have that basically accessible through here, so we have access with the atmospheres, but we probably also could then have an access from this side, just in case we run out of oxygen, so we are not deadlocked if we need steel or any other refined metals, but this setup is blocked. We do not end up in a deadlock. What we also want to do is dig this out, and then up here we will connect to one of the two remaining cooling loops that we still have. Our metal refinement setup is now also completed, and now you can maybe see how this is going to work, because this upper part here, that's basically just to recycle and cool down the cooling liquid that we need here for the refinery. So if we go into it, we can see here this goes through this first shut off, and then up here through this upper room which has some temp shift plates and some water in it. So basically over time warming up the water until it gets hot enough to turn into steam, and once that gets hot enough, the steam turbine kicks off. And then here on the lower part we have a reservoir to store and balance the temperature of the cooling liquid. And here a bit of trickery is a very narrow range of temperatures in which we say, okay, we need actually more cooling on the liquid that we pipe through here, or we are good, or we can pump it back into the system. And for the cooling liquid that we will be using, that will be oil. And oil is not the optimal liquid for a temperature exchange. It's rather on the kind of like a carbon dioxide versus hydrogen for gases. It does not have a high exchange rate for the heat. So it's not optimal, but I think at least in the past it served me well in this capacity, so we will use it here as well. And this basically brings us to the last part of today's project, the oil production. And this is going on here on this side, and as you can see I have done a bit of digging out. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 wells. This is a infectious polluted oxygen vent. Don't want to go in there. And then down here we can actually do a bit more digging out, I think down to this level. And what we will need is oil pumps on all these reservoirs, and then a pump for the actual oil down here going down. And for the oil wells, maybe let's just put those in. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we need some water after the save. Connect that here and there. And then we have, this is the actually that's the output line for the oil. So we can also connect this. That goes down here. We bring it down, and then we will have a pump. That's our lowest layer. We will have a pump here. So probably we then also want to have a ladder here on this side, so just for accessibility. And up here we will need a transformer. So an oil pumping station takes 240 watt. So, and we have 4 of them, so that's almost 1,000, and then we need the pump. So actually here we need a large transformer, and we will make this out of copper and hope it can sustain the warmth in here. We are between 65 and 100 degrees, so aluminium is not good enough. Lead as well. We will see how we do with the lead wiring here. I want to eventually replace that one. Then we need to hook up this water pipe to the setup up here, which I have prepared. So down here we have the vent, and maybe just here on this side we might want to have a bit of a bigger reservoir for our water. And up here we have a cooling system, because this steam that we get out is pretty on the warm side, and I fully expect that the water that we get out here will not be sufficient to fuel our oil pipes. So eventually we will have then also this water source, or this salt water source down here, which I prepared a basin already for it, so we can dig out this part, and here on this side we also need a ladder, so we can distill that part, get more water out of it, and supplant the liquid need that we have on that side with it. Well, we're still waiting for water to be pumped to our oil wells. We got a bit of oil out of the system, so we can jumpstart our production here with the new facility. Just to catch you up here, we made a bit of progress. We have now a vacuum in here. We have digged out this large portion where we will store the water, but there's still a way to go until this is finalized. And down here we have a good part of the things in place, among other the pumping of the oil and the control mechanism, so that our oil level does not overflow. Eventually we will then also need a way to pump out the natural gas, which we will get from these wells, but one step at a time. Setup up here is barely ready. We're just waiting for this vent to become non-dormant. We probably also should connect here, so we get a bit of hydrogen in there for the cooling. But I also dug out this part with our saltwater geyser, which produces quite a bit of salt water. however at high temperatures. So we do desalinate it here, aluminium ore. Probably this will break pretty soon as it overheats, but that's a problem for another time. And we are pumping in the water in this loop, which means our oil wells can produce oil, and we can also check that off from our list. So I hope you enjoyed this look into oxygen not included, and join me next time when we will make even more progress. Until then, goodbye!